A major new lawsuit has been filed against Elon Musk himself in his official capacity as a DOGE administrator and DOGE itself. My name is Dina Doll with the Legal AF channel. Let's break this down. Now, this is the lawsuit we've been waiting for. We've seen lots of chinks in the armor of trying to stop Trump's agencies from violating, frankly, federal law and various things, firing people, trying to do the birthright citizenship, trying to stop NIH funding, and a lot of success with the plaintiffs there in getting at least a temporary injunction stopping these actions. But the overarching problem with all of these was DOGE and Elon Musk and going into these agencies and telling these agencies what to do. And now we have a lawsuit trying to stop exactly that, going to the heart of the issue, which is that Elon Musk is not allowed to do the things he's doing. And specifically, this lawsuit is saying that it is a violation of the constitutional appointments clause because Elon Musk has never been appointed to anything. And he has so much power, so much sweeping power. DOGE evidently has a team lead in literally every single agency in our government. And Trump and Elon, are the ones. And Elon specifically is the one who decides what is going to happen with these agencies. And if you have that much significant power, then you have to be appointed by Congress. And this hasn't happened. I'm going to go through this lawsuit. It is quite a fun read for those of us who feel very strongly that what Elon is doing is illegal, just watching it happen, him going into the Oval Office with his press conference, even though he's never been elected to anything, that sense of some private person basically having too much power in our country. Well, this is that lawsuit that addresses that. So let me read from the lawsuit. So basically they're saying, Elon Musk has never been appointed to anything, and there's never even been a formal announcement from Trump that he's even been appointed to anything or selected to do anything. And then they say, so despite that, they say that in the lawsuit, it says, quote, defendant Musk exercises an extraordinary amount of power. Indeed, the scope and reach of his executive authority appears unprecedented in U.S. history. His power includes at least the authority to cease the payments of congressionally approved funds, access sensitive and confidential data across government agencies, cut off systems access to federal employees and contractors at will, and take over and dismantle entire independent federal agencies. Recent weeks demonstrate that defendant Musk follows a predictable and reckless slash and burn pattern. 1, identify a federal program target, often relying on information posted on his privately owned social media platform X to pick them. 2, attempt to install his DOGE team, which largely consists of former employees from across a variety of defendant Musk's businesses within the agency or agencies that administer those programs. 3, attempt to gain access to the agency's core operating systems, often demanding access that is forbidden by privacy and security laws for individuals who have no clearance to access that information. 4, if resistance is met by the duly appointed officers or regular staff, threaten or ensure that any personnel roadblocks are placed on leave or otherwise removed, perhaps amplify threats against staff on X, heightening the risk of third-party harassment. 5, use the agency's internal technology and information systems, again without proper legal authorization, to identify personnel for termination and contracts for freezing. 6, begin dismantling the agency from within by severely disrupting or crippling operations. 7, post about his actions either on his personal X account or the official DOGE X account, or both. So, and they say in the case of USAID in particular, defendant Musk's actions were far ahead of the other members of the Trump administration, including, in that case, duly confirmed cabinet members like Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And another example of the complaint saying that he has vast amount of powers here is the fact that it says here, he was starting to dismantle the Department of Education representing the performance of a significant government duty. The 26 plaintiffs are suing Elon Musk. They are employees of USAID, and they are suing him anonymously. One of the lawyers for him is Norman Eisen, the renowned ethical lawyer. And again, what they are saying is that under the Constitution, if you are a superior officer, then you have to be confirmed by the Senate, like every other cabinet official. If you are inferior officer, then the Congress still has to basically designate you as such and say that the president alone can appoint you. And if you're not an inferior officer, then you're merely an employee. And then all of the things he's doing, these vast amounts of, we see it, right? We see it in real time. The complaint itemizes it, how much power he has. If you're merely an employee exercising that much power, this is a violation of the separation of powers, because clearly you're overstepping the power of an employee and you're starting to get into congressional power, which is they have the power to decide who's going to have that much authority, essentially, or at least they have to be able to confirm somebody who has that much authority. So that's what the complaint is alleging, that you, Musk, are a superior officer. If you want to be the head of a cabinet, like you want to create DOGE and you want to be the head of the cabinet, which clearly you're acting as the head of the cabinet, then you just have to be confirmed by the Senate. It can't be just like a post on X and, acting as if you have this much power. That's not how our government works. And then if you're not a superior, if you're an inferior one, then Congress still has to have that laid out and say that you are an inferior officer of DOGE and that the president alone can confirm you. And if you don't do those two things, this is an unconstitutional violation of the Appointments Clause. A very strong argument. And really, it speaks to the fact that if they have this mandate, if Republicans have this mandate, they control Congress. There is no reason Trump couldn't actually create a cabinet DOGE and have Musk be appointed. I mean, they've confirmed a lot of his other appointees. But they're not doing him. Of course, there's a ton of conflicts of interest of Elon Musk, and Elon Musk wants it both ways. He wants all this power with our government, but he doesn't want to have to be subject to the ethical constraints of conflict of interest laws that we have, right? And also, who knows, maybe is this a weakness that Trump realizes the Republican Party cannot get their act together? He doesn't want to give them even a chance to do that. But this lawsuit clearly saying you cannot have it both ways. You cannot exercise the amount of power you're exercising without making you basically an official position. And right now they are trying to exercise it both ways. And the complaint goes and just point after point, giving such strong evidence to the fact of what it is that Trump and Musk are doing here. And they point to just a press conference, actually, from February 11th, so a very recent press conference where Musk says, quote, "There are quite a few people in bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but have somehow managed to accrue tens of millions of dollars of net worth while in that position, which is what happened at USAID." Right. So he says this throwaway comment at the press conference because he thinks he's above the law. He can say whatever he wants. The complaint goes on to say, on information and belief, defendants Musk and DOGE have unprecedented and illegal access to thousands of federal government employee records, including security clearance files, which contain the net worth of those employees. So this is how great this complaint is, using his comment at the press conference, trying to somehow sully the names of these employees, but them pointing to the fact that if you have that information, that's information you're not allowed to have without a certain level of security clearance. So the complaint has so many examples of how Musk has an extraordinary amount of authority and control over our agencies and our government, despite him having no authority as required by the Constitution. One is very interesting with the payment systems, because that in particular, as we know, they tried to argue that DOGE only had read-only access. Well, this is what the complaint says about that. It says, in seeking access to Treasury systems, defendants Musk and DOGE initially stated that their goal was merely to undertake a general review of the system and observe its operations without interfering with disbursements. However, a January 24th, 2025 email exchange revealed that the DOGE push for access to the Treasury payment system was actually intended to receive access to the closely held payment system so that the Treasury could freeze disbursements to USAID, which is what we all thought. There's no reason to go into a payment system unless you're trying to stop payments. And they're bringing their receipts about that. So like a very strong and compelling complaint. So the complaint shows, by showing all of these ex posts, that Musk is acting as the head of DOGE, acting as this DOGE administrator, official capacity despite being official, and how much he is doing his kind of government work on his X site. And one of the screenshots that they have in the complaint is Musk doing exactly that. The @DOGE team is rapidly shutting down those illegal payments, decisions that an administrator, a high-up administrator would be making, and him using and communicating this on his own X platform. So much there in the complaint showing that here you have somebody who's no formal announcement for his power, no confirmed power based on what is required by the Constitution, but wielding a mass amount of power. And in their complaint, using a lot of their own words, whether in the press conference or on these X posts, and really doing what we all knew and could see what he's doing, like trying to stop Musk from exercising illegal power, from going into every agency of our government and doing whatever he wanted, despite the fact that he wasn't elected, he wasn't confirmed, he's never even been formally authorized. This is illegal under our Constitution. A really strong complaint filed in the district court in Maryland. We are at the very beginning of this lawsuit. My name is Dina Doll with the Legal AF channel. We will continue to update you on the developments on this and all the other cases being brought against the Trump administration.
In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.